Thinking about self-publishing and don't know where to start? Join the Spa Girls each week for 30 minutes of honest advice, tips and resources. I'm Trudy J and I am here with Cheryl Phipps.
Hi there.
Shah Barrett.
Hello.
And Wendy Vella.
Hello.
Hello. We are here on this frosty morning. It was a
lovely sunny frosty morning though.
Yeah.
Beautiful out there.
Very nice and sunny. And we are here to talk about power words today.
Yes.
Sounds exciting. I'm excited.
Are you excited? This is an exclusive, exclusive podcast where you can discover an amazing
secret.
I'm looking through my list of power words.
And it's urgent.
Only available now for a limited time.
But it's a miracle.
Yeah, it should be effortless.
A miracle secret.
It's a miracle. And it's sensational, and you will be able to compare it with no one.
Oh.
I think I used to
say a best-selling podcast.
Much loved.
FYI.
Much loved.
We're not mental. We're just
we are mental.
Well, now explain why we used all
that.
words.
Now why we are crazy people. So power words it comes from, I think, copywriting, right? It's and they they're words that evoke emotion and create a reaction in readers, and that's kind of what you're trying to do as a salesperson or a copywriter. You're trying to create emotions that they maybe this person wants whatever you're selling, and action is to buy it. So you're doing those two things, and there's a whole kind of big, lots of people have written books on it. The one I know is Joseph Sugarman. Which is called the Ad Week Copywriting Habit, which is, it's not about power words precisely, but it's about copywriting. And others. Ogilvy is one that we'll talk about today too. But they all talk about the power of words. And because we're writers, we thought, well, we know about words.
Yeah.
We might be able to use some of this in our stuff. So, I don't know, should we... In our stuff.
Yeah. I think she means in our books.
That's not a very powerful word.
No, don't use stuff ever again. I will
really,
use that word again.
No.
So maybe we can cover off the power words for when we would use them first. So we're talking about maybe subject lines for emails in your newsletter. Advertising, Facebook ads, Amazon ads, your book description byline at the bottom of your book description. If you do that kind of thing, it's
taglines,
it's
Facebook
the
posts.
Marketing, copywriting kind of side of things at the moment. Yeah.
I mean, you can do it in your manuscript as well in terms of maybe, I would say power words. It's more powerful to use a stronger verb than a weaker one, things like that.
Absolutely.
But I guess today we want to focus more on that kind of.
Well, we'll see. If we run out of steam in 20 minutes, Trudy,
I might have my moment.
Have we ever run out of words
or steam
to say?
I can keep going.
Can't remember
we can
a time.
Just wander off into something.
Why don't we start with those 5 powerful words, the most powerful words that
that would be that good save, Cher. That was a moment.
It was a good save.
We were just about to launch.
We've actually talked about these. We've had quite a few different podcasts over the years with different advertising gurus, and I think Brian Mix was definitely the one that we had on. Trudy and I interviewed him a couple of years ago now, and he was very much talking about the 5 words to put in advertising copy that were researched by everybody, that these were the 5 most powerful words in the English language, which is a big statement, is it not?
Big call.
Okay.
I was really, really surprised chocolate wasn't in there.
I know.
Same.
I was surprised Wendy Vella wasn't in there as well, but there you go.
To me, chocolate is a power word.
Yeah.
Right, well, let's tell them what they are.
Okay. So the 5 power words, according to everything we've read, are you, the word you, as in you, not EWE. Free.
It's important to clarify that because we live in New Zealand.
Everyone was thinking it was about a sheep.
We're in a land of sheep here, so things get woolly fairly fast.
But we digress.
So you free instantly, because, and now. So now, because, instantly, free, you.
Wow.
Da, 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 and
you don't have to put them all into one sentence, FYI.
It would actually be, you would like this free thing instantly because it will
Now's a
Be
good
good
time
now. Don't do
Would
that.
that be overpowering?
Yeah,
Who
That
knows?
it
might be a
be.
little much.
Maybe.
Mhm.
So why are these words so good?
You is because people like to hear about themselves.
Yeah.
And so no point, like I do this in my newsletters all the time. You know, I started out and I'd say, I think you should buy this because it's an amazing book. And that's all about me.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, you will love this
Love
book.
this book.
Yes.
This is
Because
of why.
Mhm.
And I think the thing with because is another good point is it don't just randomly use because. It's got the reason because I think is a big one in there is because you're giving the reader a reason for them to buy. So it's kind of like you're, instead of them having to create a reason why they want this thing they want, you're saying you need to buy this because it is the number one knife on the market,
on the
for this
Ginsu
thing.
market. Yeah.
And I go, oh well, if it's the number one knife, well then
that changes everything. I should get it now.
But also people like you because it's a direct connection.
Yeah, everyone loves them. Like everyone loves themselves. Like they want to talk about themselves.
Clearly.
But not everyone. But you know, but
well,
it
we
is
should
always
all a
about
little bit anyway.
Yeah. That's it. That's the word from the Spa Girls. You should all love yourselves, but
Absolutely.
people
So-
think about themselves first. Their favourite word in the English language is their own name. You know, there's all those kind of.
Yeah.
Really? I did not know that. Okay.
Well, I don't know whether my favourite name is a word is Trudy, but you know, it's that.
That's not mine. Tell you that
No,
much.
thanks, Wendy.
So, getting back to the words that we are talking about. So, free, obviously, that kind of goes unsaid. Like everybody likes free
Everybody
in a
wants
bargain.
free.
And then there's instantly because, and I would say that's probably even more powerful these days than previously because
sure.
we're sort of so used to it, you know. So, those are the 5 that we have repeatedly heard our podcast guests talking about, and I think they stand the test of time. I've done all kinds of tests with different newsletter subject lines and advertising, and those words absolutely make a difference. You can have, you know, even if you just put in one, if you've written an advertising copy for an Amazon ad, for example, and just tweet the end, you will love this because it's really powerful. It seems cliched a little bit when you start doing that kind of thing, but try it.
Instantly. It's
Try
such a hard word to add in without sounding like a car salesman. But
But we are a
does.
society of instantaneous. You know, we want things. We want it now. That's even more, like you said, even more so now, and especially this generation coming through. It's like, did you say I have to wait for that?
Yeah.
You know, because
I
don't think so. I'll go on to the next thing. You know,
Instantly binge read this whole series right now, kind of thing. Yeah.
I don't understand how people used to read, and I say people as in I used to read when I had to wait and go to the bookstore to buy the next book in the series. Like,
but we didn't know any better, dude. That's like just like we didn't have cell phones.
We've adapted.
We have adapted.
What's next then?
So do you want me to just talk about David Ogilvy, because I feel like we can't really do this without Ogilvy. So
I was thinking maybe we should just start with the list of the powerful words that we're then going to, you know, expand on.
Yep.
Don't you think that would be a good idea? Like we,
sure.
Okay. So
no problem.
We could just run through them.
Yeah, you go, girl.
Shall I do that quickly?
Yes.
So we're starting off with making people feel a sense of inclusiveness.
Yep.
Yeah.
We want them to accept that we're making a promise.
Yeah.
We want to create a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
We want to make readers feel comfortable. We want to make them feel like we're giving them something exclusive that's just for them, so that makes them feel special. We also want to create curiosity around our brand or what we're trying to sell. We want to make it absolutely effortless, and we want them to trust us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be every single one of those in everything.
No.
So you can say, I want people to trust me, and that is the point of this piece of copy, or I want them to feel urgent. So that's the point. And you pick the words that suit your situation or your whatever you're doing. Yeah. So.
All right. Let's hear about Ogilvy.
Oh, okay. No, it was just a kind of a random side note. So he was kind of called the father of advertising, which is a slightly odd term, but anyhow, that's all the reading. Highly recommend his book, by the way, if anybody is into this kind of thing, because I'm really into this kind of stuff, so it's really interesting. But what I liked about him, he was kind of like the original Mad Men. That's where the Mad Men series came from, and in the 40s, and he was the first advertiser to kind of, particularly for women, treat women like they actually were consumers and that they had a brain. And so I feel warm towards him.
You want to have his baby, don't you?
Yeah,
and I use the word instantly warmed towards him.
He was big on research, and that's also why I warmed to him as well. But he talks about in his book that you really have to know who you're writing your advertising copy for, which naturally expands to us knowing about our readers. So that's a key thing, and how they think. And again, that's understanding. So if somebody loves reading about, say, the Cinderella trope, like it's really identifying that in your copy, so it kind of translates really well across, I think, to authors' marketing needs, and also what that person needs. And often that's something instantly, often it's escape. Often, I mean, if you're writing nonfiction, it's to educate or to solve a problem, but for fiction, it's escapism, and it's to give them a great entertaining experience. So it's just kind of keeping those three things in mind. But
it could be more specific than that. Like, so for example, in romance, we're trying to elicit that, people read romance because they want to feel that feeling that you
absolutely.
get. So you evoke that feeling of, I don't know how to explain it, the romance that you get when you're reading about two people. And how would you explain that?
I'd say it's triggering those kind of really powerful emotions and that human connection. Yeah.
And so it'd be different for different. And so different for different genres. So for example, like science fiction might elicit different emotions, and you might choose to do that in a different way in your copy. So you just got to know your readers, essentially. But it's not just, I just think when you say, it's entertainment, and which is true, like entertainment and escapism, but you've got to go further than just escapism and know exactly the kind of emotion that your readers are looking for. So if they like Cinderella stories, why do they like Cinderella stories? It's that rags to riches. So they like the outsider, or the what do you call it, the person who's not in charge, or the person who's not, there's a word for that, oh my god, the outsider, or the downtrodden one. Like, I'm thinking Cinderella, right? She's not that she's gotten the rags, she's made to do all the chores, she's the downtrodden one, and then gets the prince at the end of the book. So what's that evoking in your readers, and how do you emulate that in your sales copy, and how do you show them that that's what they're going to get instantly? Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's what you're trying to do with these power words.
Absolutely. I mean, Ogilvy's got 20 that he uses. I'm not going to read them all now because they coincide with the ones that we've already talked about, but I'll put them in the show notes. But I think it's about going back to what Trudy was saying before about when she was writing a newsletter. It was about what it was delivering to the reader rather than what it was delivering to you. But we're here to make book sales, so let's get practical.
So let's talk about, we're going to do it through, this is so confusing because there's two sides to this. It's like, I want to go through and say, okay, these are the kind of power words that you can use when you want a sense of urgency in your newsletter. Is that kind of
let's do that.
So for example, if you're in your newsletter and you think of urgency as the emotion that you're trying to instill, it's limited, it's 99 cents, it's expires soon, it's only available here, it's
free, download the series now while it's whatever.
It runs out. You can't say runs out anymore, but
get your
you don't want to
now.
miss out.
All of those things. It's like you create those, and they're actually a lot more powerful. There's that FOMO kind of thing going on there too. Like,
but the problem is we those words are just something in our everyday lives, so we take them a little bit for granted.
True.
So we need to actually just pull back and go, actually they work. Why do we buy things? I have a fashion brand that I love, and when it comes into my email, it's like limited time, last offer, and I'm just there. You're instantly drawn to it, and that's what I'm saying. I think we are consumers, so we just have to not
trained.
Put that aside. We have to do this. We have to use these words to get people. Don't reinvent the wheel, people.
And especially when you're talking about something like a newsletter. So people are getting so many emails these days. Why would they open yours and not open the others that have come in at around the same time? what would make them actually click on just to open it without even reading it. So
don't make it a literary work of art, you know.
No.
I mean, it just needs to it needs to hit the feels straight up, and that's the truth of the matter.
Hit
you
the
know,
feels. That's what this is all
really,
about.
The feels.
Yeah,
It's a good title. I like that. The feels.
So another way that you, for example, if you're doing something in your newsletter, is to make it easy. So tell them how easy it is to download your book, how easy it is to get the things that you want, because that's another thing that we're not that great at these days. We're written patient. We want all instantly, given that instantly is one of those top 5 words. So some of the words that were downloadable, piece of cake, it might be a free thing. So
one click now, one click,
one click,
you
one
know.
click it, you know, that kind of thing. No problem. There's my gift to you. So it can you're giving a freebie away, and that kind of language tells your audience that it's something that, you know, it's easy. It's not difficult. They can.
That's right. We're not confusing animals with basic animals who want a deal. And we want to be led down there to that page, and when I click on that, I will get what I want.
Click this big button now.
And I think this is particularly important if you're having to educate readers on something. For example, if you've been, say, wide and you're going to Kindle Unlimited or Amazon exclusively, or vice versa, then some of that, how you messaging that to your readers is, you need to really emphasize that it's simple, or to make it as simple as possible for them. And I would say you have to do it repeatedly. So if you're changing your publishing strategy, I would definitely make a note of those simple power words and then try and
that's such
do
a
that.
good point, Shah, because honestly, when something looks too difficult, I give up on it straight away.
Absolutely. I'm the same. I mean, I'm tech savvy, but, you know, it's like, this needs updating. I just want to open the program and it to be updated automatically. I don't want to have to download it here, blah, 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 blah. Even though I can do it, I don't want to do it like that.
Because
so
time is important. Time is so important to most people.
Yeah. So
Maybe
I
we've
think
had a bit more of it lately, but as a rule.
But also, what we've hit on there is those. Make sure your links are working. Seriously, you know, how many times have we have we all clicked on something and that hasn't worked? Well, I'm not going back there again because I'm just not mucking around by going.
You just
to Amazon.
failed in your promise, didn't you?
Exactly.
You just failed.
Yeah,
so.
and
that's a good next. Oh, sorry, Wendy, what was that?
You go. No, I'm done.
I was going to say, you failed in your promise is a good next step, because that's the next kind of power word, is ones that show trust or safety. That's, you know, so that's words like, for us as authors, USA Today bestseller, New York Times bestseller, Amazon bestseller, you know, a certain number of books sold.
Number one in the Kindle store, in the top 100 of the Kindle store.
Approved, accredited, authority. Worldwide is an interesting one, but that is also considered to be one there. Proven, well respected. So this is all about showing that you can be trusted, that you are someone that they can read. I mean, and you get this in readers all the time. I see it where they won't start reading a series until they know that there's a final book in the series, and that's about trust too. Like they've been burned in the past that some authors don't finish the series, something happens, it doesn't sell or whatever, and they've, you know, so they were looking for the trust, and they can't trust. They don't feel like they can trust it until they're finished. So they're always looking for trust. They're always looking for someone they can feel they can trust, and you've got to show them that you are trustworthy.
Yeah, and often that comes with social proof as well as part of it. And by that I mean, if you look at a number of the top sellers on Amazon particularly, they'll use things like more than 1 million copies sold, 500 5-star reviews, you know, it's that kind of thing. Again, subscribe to the BookBub email as a reader, and you will see a lot of those phrases and that's building trust, and people want to feel good about a decision that they're making, whether it's a 99-cent book or a, you know, Tesla. It's about just kind of feeling that trust, that they can trust in the deal, if you like.
And that's another point, isn't it, with BookBub copy, you know, which you'll get in your newsletter if you click on a book, even if it's something that you don't want, and see how they've written up about that book, and they will use those words. They will use a lot of the words that we're talking about today.
Yeah, and they're all about research as well. So we've had Carlin not that long ago actually, although this year feels weird, so I'm losing track of time anyway.
Time and space has changed completely.
It's completely changed, but you know, they'll try different words, so you can be pretty sure that what you're getting in the email, there's probably a couple of variations, but if they're repeatedly advertising a book, for example, if it's like Wendy's had a couple that have maybe had 2 or 3 times in the book club over the years, they will slightly tweak the copy for that book each time, and you can see that's as a result of what they've already tested that works. So again, like Wendy's saying, don't reinvent the wheel. learn from
that, as writers, we tend to want to do that. We tend to want to think that we can hit that golden ticket. You know, we can
marketing. I don't want to be one of those
look, I'm literary, I'm creative. I should be able to just sort of wax lyrical in my email, and everyone's going to love me. You know, unfortunately, not in this day and age.
And I know what? It's symbols too. It goes down to that. It's almost like as consumers, we have been trained to expect certain words, and they trigger certain things in us. And I think that's partially why some of those words are so powerful.
Because it also feels familiar, so therefore it feels safe. So you can even see the word free, like the actual visual of how the word looks. We're all triggered like it would be now a symbol rather than we're actually reading FREE kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. So all of those. The other one I wanted to mention about trust and safety was borrowed trust. Like, so if there's another author saying, this is the best book I've read since sliced bread, or reviews. So if you're doing advertising and you've got a fantastic review saying, I couldn't put this book down, I loved it. It's like from an Amazon reviewer. There's no actual,
doesn't matter.
But if they've got this review saying that, then I would put that on your... Well, this is, we started off talking about newsletters, but I mean, although I would put reviews in newsletters actually from the book, putting them in the guise of saying, thank you to all the people who've already reviewed. I'm so grateful. Book. Here's what some people are saying. Wouldn't you like to hear? Anyway, so that's trust. What's the next kind of encouragement is a nice one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know whether it's kind of, when you're talking like it's more
the thing that it's a tough one, encouragement, actually, because it's not really a hard hitting word insofar as buy now, one click, rah. You don't want to encourage someone to buy it.
I think curiosity is probably a better word.
No, because this is different from curiosity. So this is when you're encouraging things like hero, and instead of encouragement, like you're making them sound better. Like, I think encouragement might be the wrong word to use it.
I think it is, quite frankly.
So
you've lost me.
It's kind of
completely.
So it's the ones like when you're saying something's amazing, jaw-dropping.
Amazing's a great word.
Like it's those kinds of words like legendary, conquer, booming, be fearless, be,
Those are really good, powerful words to use in ad copy, like amazing,
dazzling, magic, master,
awesome, that sort of thing. They're real powerful words, and they evoke quite a bit of emotion in you, because if it's amazing, what does that bring up inside you?
Well, you're not going to buy something that says this is pretty mediocre story. Please buy it.
This is not my best work, but
it's not my best work. I was a bit bored in chapter 5.
If you feel like it,
only if you want to.
Amazon reviewer says it was a bit meh. But I saw one who was talking about like be the hero in your office, and it was kind of like hero itself was quite a strong word, because it was saying you can be the hero. So
who doesn't want to be that? Who doesn't? They are positive traits, aren't they? That you want
it's thinking about the positive traits that maybe your readers might be feel included by, or being part of that group. And that could be when you're trying to create a tribe for like a Facebook group. Something like that might be more useful in that kind of environment. I don't know, like instead of using those kinds of words might help you kind of make them feel more inclusive and be somehow part of your tribe.
It's about a connection, isn't it? You need to examine what you want to get out of. If we're going back to email newsletters, you need to examine what you want to get out of an email newsletter, what you want to get out of your ad copy. What are you trying to evoke from the people who read it? And then you have to find the words, the power words that match that. We've talked one click for whatever for an email newsletter, we want to buy them. But then again, if we're talking blurbs and posts on Facebook, we want to evoke emotion in the people who are reading them. So we then go on to things like sensual or sizzling. I mean, there's just so many words out there, isn't there, that I think the key is finding those blurbs you love and those email newsletters you love. And we said it all along, I think it's vital that you follow the people you really respect, because they quite often will use those words really well.
Yeah, we're not talking plagiarism or copying people how they do things here, but be inspired by.
Because I don't know what you guys are like. I can sit at my computer and stare at it for ages trying to work out how to write a blurb or Facebook post. I mean, give me an 80,000 word novel any day, because it's a nightmare. I've just had to completely rework all of my contemporaries, completely rework them in a different tone to what I would normally write in. Blurbs, sorry, go girl. And you know, wow, it was hard. It took me ages, because I wanted to try to get all those feel-good words in there, but I wanted to sort of make them more modern, and yet that's not the way. And it's really, really hard to strike. And I spent a lot of time looking at other people and what they wrote, and there are some very, very, very talented writers out there who can write blurbs very well.
And if we're thinking about blurbs, the encouragement one, or I've got to stop calling it encouragement.
Stop with the encouragement word. It's a
the wrong
word. It's a meh.
How about inspire rather than
inspire? That's a much better word. So inspiring words are actually really relevant for blurbs, because when you think about the kind of things that you want them to feel from your blurbs, especially like kind of with romance, it is inspiring. You want them to be dazzling and dashing, and when this was one thing we talked about BookBub earlier, and I always remember going to a conference where they were talking, and they broke down a little bit of what they do with their blurbs. And the one thing I always remember was a descriptor that is describing a personality trait is way stronger than just a visual, like whether they're handsome or attractive. And that to me at the time, I was like, oh my God, how can that be so? But when we think about it in the context of emotion, actually, like a character trait probably evokes far more emotion. You think about he was than just knowing that he was attractive. Like
totally. I mean, you don't think you think of your group of your closest friends. You don't think, well, 80% of them are blondes. You think that they're good people, that and they've got positive character traits, not actually how they look.
Yeah.
Even if they are all supermodels, to anybody listening, just
don't you find
all your friends?
All your friends. Thanks, Shah.
So that's something to think about when you're writing your blurbs, is thinking about words that are descriptive and evoke emotion. So the more you can evoke emotion, and it's not just using the boring old plain, this is that verb thing again, like using the boring old plain verbs but amping it up to the next level verbs. Like an example, I can't help myself, I have to give the example, is like he ate eat. So the word eat, so you just eat something, right? But what about devour or nibble? Those completely create different emotions and different reactions in you, right? You don't think the same thing. And wouldn't it be more powerful to say, instead, or a man, but he was, or a duke versus a something else.
A rogue or a
rogue. So that's a really good example. So a duke or a rogue versus a man. You get such a much more, a bigger reaction, more emotion involved with either of those two words than the basic.
Those sort of power words can stop you from overwriting as well. We don't, if we can just explain what we want to get across in sort of one or two words, then we don't have to then go into the details. He's got flowing locks and he's this and he's that. He's a rogue. You know what I mean? It's like, I think we tend to try to, as writers, over-explain everything in our blurbs when we actually don't need to.
Yeah.
We just chuck in a couple of really good words.
That evoke the right emotion and the right feeling.
Just going back to what Trudy was saying before about some symbols and symbology, and talking about like the tropes is key. Don't hide your light under a bushel when you're writing blurbs. Like, put it all out there, not the plot, the emotion and the tropes, and the really things that are going to smack the reader between the eyes.
And if it's something like a second chance, and you have read that in so many blurbs that you're over it, it doesn't matter, because that's what the reader wants.
Exactly.
So you have
it's
to
like Cinderella story, same thing, right?
Yeah.
When I say Cinderella to you, you instantly know what I'm talking about. We all know the story. We know it. So bang, why not use it?
And I think some people are worried, but what if people don't like Cinderella stories?
Well, then
they're not your reader. Like if it's a Cinderella story,
but there's
millions
of other people out there that do love them, so it's okay.
They're tropes for a reason. They're tropes for a reason, and don't be afraid of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Tropes, and it's the same as in keywords, it's the same as in everything. You know, they write books about these things for a reason, because they're true.
Yeah.
You know, and they help sell your book.
And I would say that the work that you put into, say, for example, learning to write a great blurb, those skills transform into all your advertising copy and your newsletter. So it's kind of transferable. So it's the work that you do on this is actually can help in multiple areas across an author, you know, across your author business. And I know a lot of people, a lot of writers just, they don't like the marketing side of things. And really, you know, I would just encourage you to reframe that, and that marketing, it's just about connecting with your readers. That's all it is. It's just communication and connection. So, you know, it doesn't have to be slimy. It doesn't have to be salesy.
I think there's a lot of fear involved in that kind of, like, they're afraid of dealing with readers or something. Like maybe they don't want to or something.
Actually saying, please buy my book. And like the hundreds of ways that you can do that.
Exactly.
And I would say that as well too, is don't again, referring to our podcast guest, but Larissa Reynolds is very much about, she talked about newsletters specifically, but it was very much about sell the read, like tell people what you want them to do. So at the end of an advertisement, buy now, download now, like read the entire series in KU, that kind of thing. Like, tell people what you want. Don't sell them on something and then leave them hanging. Like, it's like, what's the next step? Well, the next step you want them to take is actually to hit the follow button on Amazon, to, you know, whatever. Just always kind of tell people at the end of whatever it is you're writing, tell them what you want them to do.
Because there are lots of things you could be asking for, but you don't want to do it all at once.
And it doesn't have to be sales. You're not necessarily asking for money, but you're asking for an action, and that's what you want. If you enjoy this newsletter, please forward it to a friend so they can enjoy this recipe for chocolate chip cookies. It doesn't have to be, but just try and end with put a full stop at the end of it, as it were.
One action, don't make it 10, because if you give them 10, they won't do them. They won't do any. They won't go, oh, which one shall I pick? They'll pick none.
No. Exactly.
I mean, and we've all been there, haven't we, when we've tried to find where we should click. You know, it's not easy in front of us and a big red button that says click here. Don't make it difficult or smart, or don't try and be like, you know, different. Just, there's the link, click on it.
I think that's probably where a lot of us, and we're all of us are guilty of this. We want to be different. We want to be different with our covers. We want to be different with what we're writing. Like, it's a desire to be different, but actually sometimes that desire to be different can be the one thing that's kind of, or a key part of us actually not making book sales. There, I said it.
But you can be different in other places, if you know what I mean. Like, you can be different in your voice, in the way that you put it together.
Well, you're different because it's you. Nobody else can do. You're already different. You don't have to try harder to be different. You're already unique.
And I think maybe it also helps in the way, your style of writing, your actual book. You know, like if you're funny, then maybe your words can be teasing, or, you know, trying to create curiosity rather than, you know, slapping them in the face by saying, you know, I have a new book out. It's, you know, like maybe, have you read, or take a look at this, or something like that, you know, just because that's how you write your books, you know, you're quite funny or whatever.
Call to action. That's what's the key. Call to action.
Curiosity is actually another really good kind of...
I was just going to say curiosity is a big one, because we're curious creatures.
We don't like to miss out, and we want to know what's behind the closed door. So if you can make it seem like there's some amazing thing behind the locked covers of your book. You had a bit
golden.
of FOMO. So
everyone's saying.
So I've got some curiosity words. So announcing is a big one. So that's announcing my latest series. Announcing is a biggie, because people are used to the word announcing. You know, something good's going to happen after that word is used, whether verbally or in writing. Start, stop, ironically, running. So this is running out, you know, time is running, you know, that kind of thing. Deal is still a big strong word to use. And, you know, again, it could be like a box set. This is a great deal to read 3 books, you know, that kind of terminology. Introducing is another one, similar to announcing. Offer So have I got the offer for you? Not Ginzu knives, but that there's a limited time offer as a kind of standard. You've got your
Creates
time,
urgency.
your urgency, and you've got your curiosity as well in there. Or what's the offer? Compare, challenge. Trudy's already talked about compare before. Discover, release, and soon are really strong words as well. Release, the word release. I've done a few experiments with different authors setting up what to call their newsletters. So some people have read a newsletter, some people have Wendy's newsletter. New release alert is quite a strong terminology. Like I've had good success from that. Just simply changing the name of your newsletter on your website. Where you talk about it, that's an interesting one to experiment with. Just try and use some of these. Going back to, sorry, we haven't talked about exclusivity yet, but just another one is exclusive reader newsletter. Like try and combine a couple of these and just try it.
Yeah. I had curiosity ones as well, like behind the scenes.
People love that.
Top secret kind of stuff, or a sneak peek, those kinds of things. Like they're getting an early check-in, the little known, the classes.
Reader extras.
Yeah, like things
those
like
be.
Insider information, that's the whole stuff around those kinds of things where you're kind of like, oh, what do the insiders get that I don't? You suddenly you want to be inside in the know. Unauthorized, I thought that was quite interesting. Think about all the unauthorized biographies. That sounds way more salacious and interesting than just an authorized biography.
Just some random bio.
Boring.
Just a random ass one.
Yeah.
So think if you're trying to engage curiosity, it's that kind of stuff that you want to.
Yeah. And curiosity is a really strong one, particularly for getting people to do an action. Yes. So if you're wanting them to do something, to drive them towards something, making them curious about what's on the other side of that action is really, really good.
Yeah, I think that's
awesome.
Curiosity must be a really good one for us, like as authors. Like that's a strong one that we should be kind of looking into. And
it's also that age-old kind of truism that if you ask a question in your subject line of your newsletter or in the preview, where you've got a line of text that you can put, often asking a question there, or leaving the line on a cliffhanger, you'll never believe what I blah, and then ... So they'll click on it. So again, it's that curiosity, it's that creating that. And I would just to kind of round out that discussion, I'd say people want to feel that they're getting something exclusive, even though, again, you might be buying a 99-cent ebook, but how do you get them to sign up to your newsletter? Join my newsletter list for an exclusive sneak peek behind the scenes or an exclusive short story, that kind of thing. They want the exclusivity, and it's a good one for reader groups, particularly if you're setting up a Facebook reader group. Again, you want to use the words few or select, or I will select selected readers or selected art group, that kind of thing, that kind of language that you are, because we want to belong to that kind of exclusive group. And there's still the animal in us. So you want to go to that campfire over there.
We want to belong. We don't want to miss out. We want to get the best deal, and we want it for free.
Now. And
we want it now. Remember those things and you'll be right.
We're basically animals that just...
We're herd animals.
I was listening to someone the other day who was talking about actually how really, really difficult it is to go away from the herd, like to actually make decisions and not be a part of the herd. It actually goes so much against our innate nature that it's actually almost impossible to
wasn't Brooke, was it?
Shut up! I didn't say the name, so
it was.
Actually, we've had this has been an entire episode where we haven't talked about
Brooke.
BC.
Well, I didn't mention the name.
Well,
I'm
we
just saying.
Almost made it.
Just saying.
Well, we've done well. We've done
well. So is that all the power words? Is that everything?
I think we've done. I think we've wrapped it up.
Yeah, because I love my little lists of words, and so I think in the show notes I'll give you a couple of places that I go to for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of them was quite interesting, 16 boring words and what to use instead. So that was quite good because two of the words were good and bad, which I know we all use in all of our books, and it actually gives you a few different words there. But there's another couple that I'll give you the
That's
link.
a good one. That's
fun like I do.
But that's a really good point as well. You know, there's lots of things like that you could be searching for that just amp up your writing, that are not just about these power words, but are about thinking about the kind of words that you're using. So that's really good.
That's why a thesaurus is so good. Just saying.
Yeah, no, I love my thesaurus. Online one, but you know.
You remember the days you used to get a Rogaze thesaurus as part of your kind of school
Mine is
stationery?
up on the shelf. It's actually taped up with silver tape.
Yeah.
Oh, it's that.
So old.
Those are the days. Anyway,
on that note,
on that note, let us be
to be part of the Spa Girls exclusive community, come along to Facebook, look up Spa Girls podcast.
Click now.
Join our newsletter.
For a limited time.
Just go and click the link. Super easy on our website. And
awesome.
Be part of our group.
Be part of our exclusive community. Awesome. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Spa Girls podcast. I hope you picked up some amazing power words to use in your writing going forward. Otherwise, we will see you next week.
Keep
next
well.
time. Keep
Bye.
well.
Bye.
Stay well. Bye.